We're not Disney adults. We're just adults that like Disney.
We're not haters. We just have opinions.
We're not cat ladies, but we are childless. We're two entertainment creatives exploring culture at the intersection of fandom and our professional careers.
I'm Kalen.
I'm Jacob.
And this is
The
Childless
Childless
Millennials. Welcome to our first episode.
Hello. We have been talking about doing this for so long, and we finally committed. We're here. We're in the chairs. We're ready.
And we're doing a show.
And I just need to kick it off with the Facebook status that helped us find our way into an identity as podcasters.
Yes, the launching pad for this that started all the way back in 2019. What if this came out the day we met? Would that be insane? We should probably look that up.
That would be crazy. I don't even know who this person is, actually. I think their name was blocked out on the screenshot I found.
That's probably best for them.
But it went viral.
Viral.
Yeah.
Here we go. Wait, are you just reading it right? Or is it a dramatic reading? Like what?
I don't know.
Do you need a welcome?
Okay.
Okay.
I think I'll do a dramatic reading.
I love it.
Okay, ready? Here we go.
Yes, I am ready.
It pisses me off to no end when I see childless couples without at Disney World. That was how she wrote it. That's a typo. Disney World is a family amusement park, yet these immature millennials throw away their money on useless crap. They have no idea the joy and happiness it is to mothers who buy their babies treats and toys. Am I peeking? They will never experience the exhaustion that it is to chase a 3-year-old around and getting stares at, assuming I'm a bad mother. This C word in some very slutty shorts was buying a Mickey pretzel, and Aiden wanted one, but the line was very long. So I said later, and it broke his poor little... That's a typo. That's her typo, not mine. So I said later, and it broke his poor little heart, and he cried, I wanted to take the fucking pretzel from that tramp, like, thanks, bitch, you made my son cry.
Insert 6 angry face emojis.
Yes, correct. Disney World is for children. People without children need to be banned. Mothers with children should be allowed to skip all the line. Just line. It's not...
Just all the singular lines.
Just all the singular line. You have no fucking idea what it's like to have to stand in line for 3 hours with a cranky, tired, exhausted toddler. And I can't just tell him that because we can't do something because it's his vacation too. I fucking hate childless women with a burning passion.
Guess what, mama? I hate you too.
So this Facebook status came out in like 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And it made the rounds. And I could be wrong, but I think that this status is what coined the term childless millennial, because there was a New York Post article that said, woman says childless was in quotes, and then millennial was after, because she doesn't actually say childless millennial.
No, she says childless couples, immature millennials.
Yes.
A lot of cursing. Also, I do want to note, she specifically said Disney World. So does that mean that we have carte blanche for Disneyland? The childless millennials get Disneyland?
I think it says something about Florida, but it's fine. But Kalen, this is us. She's talking about us.
We're the childless millennials.
We are the childless millennials.
Stealing pretzels from babies. I just want to make a note. I don't even like pretzels. So
Who's
I don't know
buying
why
a pretzel at Disney?
I could answer that. I know quite a few people who really like the cheese-filled ones.
Oh, they always look so much better than they taste.
That's correct.
But that's why we're here. That's why we're here right now, because we are who this woman is talking about.
Very specifically who she's talking about.
I would say I'm a Disney adult, but you would not say you are a Disney adult.
No, I always say, like, I'm not a Disney adult. I'm an adult who likes Disney.
That's giving. I'm not a Christian, but I'm just a follower of Christ.
So what you're saying is I'm in the cult, but I don't want to admit it?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
No, I think that I think there's just, for a long time, I had this inclination to kind of remove myself from the stereotype of Disney adults. And it's not because I agree with that stereotype or think that like Disney adults are bad. I just think that there are different types of adults who enjoy Disney.
Right.
And colloquially, we know of Disney adults as being like the girlies who cry when they see the castle. You know what I'm saying? And I love that for them. I have emotional reactions to music at Disney.
Right.
But that, like, the girlies who, you know, wear the ears and cry in front of the castle and meet the princesses and things like that, that's just not necessarily why I go to Disney or why I like Disney.
Right. I think that the term Disney adult like refers to this sort of like potentially stunted adult who like almost like infantilizes themselves and like wears like they look like they're maybe too old to be doing it.
I think exactly in line with what you're saying, the term Disney adult has kind of become this catch-all for people who weren't loved enough as kids and now like, and I'm not saying that as in like a mean way. It's just like that's how people look at Disney adults, is like, oh, well, you weren't loved enough as a child, so now you're trying to reclaim part of your childhood at Disneyland. Right. And for me, I think that's why I personally make the distinction of like, I'm not that Disney adult. I'm an adult that likes Disney, because the reason I love Disney, and it has like been, you know, the story of my life to be involved with or work with Disney, is because I was loved as a child and my parents did take me to Disney World over and over again, and it's how I grew up, and it's how I learned music, and it's how I learned to be around people and behave.
Right. And I this is where I think that it deepens a little bit, because there are the Disney adults that are fans, which we are.
We are.
But we are professionals as well. And we have worked for the brand.
Yeah.
And represented Disney.
Yes.
You know, like my claim to the Disney multiverse is having the first LGBTQ proposal on Disney Channel.
Yes. I love that you said the Disney multiverse. Come on.
Literally, I'm waiting for like the That's So Sweet Life of Bunked to like bring it all back.
Yes.
I'm there.
Yes.
No, but like, you know, I've done that. I've done Disney in concert. I've worked at Disneyland. Work at Disneyland. You?
Yes. My piece of the Disney multiverse is I was signed to Walt Disney Records in Disney's first official, and to this day only official, a cappella group, D Capella.
Right.
And was able to record lots of music and amass tons of streams and travel the world working for the company that way. And then as a content creator and as a performer outside of that, I've worked for the Disney brand in myriad ways.
Right. Because I just think that, you know, for so long there was a separation between creator and fan. Mm-hmm. And we're in this time now where they're sort of melding. Like, we just saw Deadpool. Yeah. And it's like it could have been 10 years ago like a terrible Tumblr fan fiction script that is now like a legitimate film that's hilarious and for the fans, you know what I mean? And so we're like, we are it's to me it's bigger than Disney because we're fans, but we're pushing the narrative forward and trying to, by creating the sort of material that we love and want other people to love as well. Yeah. So when I read statuses like this, I'm like, excuse me.
Excuse me. Like, what? Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need a Mickey ice cream bar? Because it sounds like you're upset.
Right. And I want to look at her and say, do you know who the original Disney adult was? Walt. Thank you.
It was Walt. That's correct. Just let me...
But on this topic of deepening, you know, what this identity means, there was an amazing article that you sent me.
I did. When we've been talking about creating this podcast
I skipped over that. Yes.
No, it's okay. I'm just giving a little context. You know, we've been talking about doing this for like a year now. Is it more than a year?
No, it's at least. I actually was going to say a year as well.
I think it's about a year. I think we were having a conversation. You came to me with this idea like last summer. Like, what if we did a podcast? And I think it was last summer because it was originally going to be
a Pride thing.
Yes. And so we had talked about it last year in 2023 during Pride. And so we've just, life happens, and we like fully committed to it this summer of like, yes, we're
Yes.
going to do this. We started thinking of a name and, how we were going to do it and all that kind of stuff. And then in the media, we get this like kind of influx of
Everything we're trying to do.
everything we want to talk about in a lot of different ways. So, yes, the article that I sent you in the LA Times, I think it's literally called In Defense of Disney Adults.
Yes. And it was, I've told you about this, like in the like therapy work that I do, there's this like concept of finding your subgroup and people like you and joining them on that similar experience. And I just felt like so seen by this article because it was professionals and people who have like have done amazing things, like the creator of Sleep No More, and like I think one of the women like oversaw the development of Super Mario World and like all of this stuff, and they were talking so candidly about being a Disney adult.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's people like that that understand immersive experiences and
Right.
why specifically theme parks, like the Disney theme parks, are so popular because it gives that level of immersion, and it's not just for kids. I mean,
Right.
when I walk into Galaxy's Edge, I mean, the first time I ever walked in, I got like full body chills because I felt like I was in a Star Wars movie.
Right.
And
right.
as a fan of those kinds of things, where else do you get that kind of opportunity?
Right. And to me, I thought the way the very beginning of the article, like really, like I immediately was like, oh wow, we're going all the way there, because she basically says, the first person that's interviewed, one of the things that you see if you're looking at people going to the Disney parks over time, historically and today, is people saying that they have a sense of safety.
Mm-hmm.
And she dives into the historical context of safety of during the 50s and Cold War, and just like psychological safety and this. And I was like, that is so interesting to me, because that is such a fundamental thing that everybody in life is looking for, is this sense of security. And even though Disney may be a really anxiety-inducing environment, it feels very safe.
Yes.
Because when everything is going to happen, like and then, this article goes on to say, like, what if we lived in a world that operated with the efficiency of Disneyland? And I was like, yes, like, this is the definition of like optimism and joy and wonder. And my favorite quote of the whole entire article was, I forget who said it. Let me say, oh yeah. So she says, we all crave fandom and we find it in music, but we don't call people a Beyonce adult.
Say it again.
Thank you. She said we don't call people a Dodgers adult.
Correct.
And I'm like, why can grown men have like basements dedicated to their favorite sports team, but then like other people can't wear Mickey ears?
Yeah.
Like, why are we?
Or like I
yucking
wear
the
a
young?
Disney T-shirt to not Disneyland, and people are like, "Oh, you're one of those." And like,
Right.
I'm sorry, you have Miss Beyonce Knowles Carter plastered on your chest,
Right.
and we love her. But why? Like, where is the difference, right? Like,
Correct.
and why is one group so overwhelmingly judged and like belittled for the thing that they're a fan of when it really does no one any harm?
Yeah, and they talk so openly about the way that this is all tied to billionaires in corporate America, which is like unavoidable, but like it just knowing that it's like, yeah, welcome to life in America and living in a capitalist economy. Like you can't
can't escape the
No.
capitalist hellscape.
I find it to be a little bit of an equation to Taylor Swift, in that like the people outside of the Swiftie bubble are like, but she's flying private and she's ruining the planet, but the people in the bubble are like, she has to for her security. And it's like, that's kind of how I feel about Disney a little bit, of like, they're able to do what they're doing because they are $1 billion company.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, you can't have one without the other.
I think it's this concept, and this is where it gets like sociopolitical and things like that, is like, it's this concept of there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, but does that mean that we have to deprive ourselves of joy?
Say that again.
Like we can't escape this. This is our reality. This is where we live. It's the society in which we contribute to. We have to accept that as a fact, or you can move elsewhere. That's not a reality for
Right,
most
or
of
you
us,
can
right?
go buy an island and live
live off
and
the
not
grid.
exist.
That is
yeah.
not a reality for most people. That is not
Right.
going to be the journey of most Americans. So if we keep that in mind, why should we deprive ourselves of joy
Right.
just because in some way it tangentially all leads back to a capitalist billionaire?
Right. Well, and you know, there's so much of the company that I would never defend.
Yeah.
But that being said, like Bob Iger makes way less than the CEOs of other billion-dollar companies,
Yeah.
you know, and there are times where I'm like, they are changing the narrative on certain things and working as hard as they can, and you know, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But speaking of like the politics of it, this was the other so here's what happened, right? Like we were like, let's do this podcast, let this be the vibe of the podcast. Then this article drops, and then Donald Trump picked his running mate,
He sure did.
JD Vance, who God bless JD Vance. Let's read some
Bless
of
his
these
heart.
quotes. We are effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable. Lindsey Graham would like a word. That's all I have to say. No, it was like now we're currently having all of these conversations about people that are childless and how they don't have a physical investment in the future of the country.
And like we shouldn't, like our vote shouldn't count as much.
Yeah, that was wild.
Wild.
Because I just found myself like looking at my life and being like, why don't people, what are we talking about? Like, why do people not want me living my life the way I'm living my life? But I'm also not a woman. So
it's a whole other thing for women because there is this prevailing idea that like that is our job in this life is to procreate.
Right.
And respectfully, no thanks.
Right.
Once I really sat down with my own feelings about having children and really like did a deep dive into why I felt it was necessary, I realized very quickly it was a societal pressure and not something that I actually wanted.
Right.
And from the moment I realized that, I've never changed my mind. And I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. And I think there are a lot of factors that contribute to it. Some people realize it was a societal pressure and they're not interested in it just like I did. Some people might want children or might have the natural inclination to have children but don't want to bring them into the world that we live in, and that's okay too.
Right.
You know, I think it's funny to me to classify not only childless people but childless women as being miserable when there are so many other reasons on a day-to-day basis that I experience anxiety and depression that have nothing to do with not having kids.
You're like, I'm miserable, but not for that reason.
Like,
well, I think that I never thought of myself as childless until the label was thrust upon me, as Glinda would say.
Are people born childless, or do they have childlessness thrust upon them?
Literally that. Because and so
yeah, we're also theater weirdos, so just wait for that.
Right, because what I was going to say was that in the pandemic, you know, I was collecting my unemployment check that I had paid into for the last 4 years on my job, because unemployment is not free money. You actually pay into it
yourself, yeah.
But I was accused by a family member of it was like, oh, well, Jacob is sitting around all day, like baking sourdough bread, collecting his unemployment check. Oh. And my brother, in defense of me, said, well, what about this person? And the response was, well, but he's a father. And so it was like, but wait, so what are we like? I don't get that
So
because I'm
what is
not a
the actual
father.
problem?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's like when you're called a name over and over, it's like you can either go in defense and be like, no, I'm not childless, but like I obviously am childless. But I'm like, I guess I'm a childless millennial, like whatever that means. But it also means that I am a great uncle and that I
Yeah.
can buy expensive presents for my nieces and nephews.
Because you
like,
have the disposable income.
right, like I have, like my Uncle Terry and Aunt Karen never had kids, and they were the best aunt and uncle
Yeah.
like my entire life. And I do, you know, she like if we're gonna bring this all the way back, when she applied to the LA Times in her interview, they said, do you have any plans to get pregnant, or are you pregnant, or like what's because
Mhm.
she would have been fired
Yeah.
if she said that, you know.
Yeah.
And that's like so mind boggling to me of like this word is surfacing, but it's been something that has lived in the shadows for so long of women who can't get pregnant,
Yeah.
or couples that have fertility issues, or God forbid people I literally all of these political comments about childless people or not having a physical investment in the country makes me see red thinking about adoption, because I'm like, you guys all these people, they want it their way or the highway. There's
Mhm.
no compromise whatsoever. So it's like, so if somebody gets pregnant, like not on purpose, you say don't terminate the pregnancy, give the baby up for adoption. But then if you give the baby up for adoption and you don't have a kid, now you don't have any physical investment in the future because you gave like
Yeah.
which
The mental
which
gymnastics
yes,
are
it's-
Olympic level.
oh yeah, Simone Biles,
Simone Biles.
literally.
Literally. No, I get that. And I agree with you. I think that like the term childless millennials in a similar way to Disney adult has become a pejorative. And it's often an identity that is placed on people, not necessarily
Right.
one that they place on themselves. And I have seen, especially with women online, in an attempt to like reclaim their own narrative, a lot of women are choosing to call themselves child free because because
Yes.
childless has the connotation that like you should have something and you don't, whereas child free, like it's
Right.
just it's a very like small switch, but it's like this is my choice. Like I'm child free by choice. I'm not childless because I'm supposed to have this thing and I don't. And I agree with you. Using childless millennials as a term to like put people down is really, really insensitive and disrespectful of the large part of the population that cannot have children and want them.
Right.
I
And
think it's really, really disrespectful and dismissive of that part of the population to
right.
use childless millennial as a pejorative like that.
Yeah. I just look at, like, especially JD Vance had made these I think he called out Pete Buttigieg by name at a time when Pete Buttigieg had been denied an adoption request, and it's just like it's a totally different narrative too for like a queer gay person who, if I want to have a child one day, I essentially have to buy one, meaning I have to raise thousands of dollars to go through an agency or to, through surrogacy, or that these are not for a gay couple, like it's most likely not a free experience. And so it requires an immense amount of planning and intention and, quite frankly, privilege to be able to have the resources to, either adopt or foster or, like
Have a surrogate.
yeah, I mean, the way that like foster parents and adoptive parents have to like be interviewed, I'm like, hey, straights, I have an idea. Let's interview you all before you decide to have, like, what are we talking about? But it's as an artist and a performer, and with what we do and our role in culture and in society, I feel that our role is to share joy with the audiences that we are with and to tell stories that bring people together to help people find like people like them. And so that's the perplexing thing to me about being this sort of like Disney adult childless millennial, is I'm like, but I have value, and like I like that is something that I think everybody needs a little bit of.
Yeah. I also think it's very interesting because, which is part of the reason why we're doing this, because we both exist in the space of Disney adults, the space of childless millennials, and in the LGBTQ plus community.
Right.
And so at any given moment, we are being pushed and pulled in all different directions and told what we should and shouldn't be doing, and this is bad. At any given moment, all three of those things that like categorize us, we're being told are bad, right? By any different group of people. And yet, at the same time, we are also both creatives and performers whose goal and job and role it is in life to spread joy.
Right.
So how do we do that in the face of also being all of these other things that people tell us we shouldn't be? And it's like, you wouldn't have the joy and the creativity and the media that you like to watch if it weren't for a lot of people like us.
Right. Right. And I like, I'm always inspired when I see people that are so like shameless in sharing that joy. Like when Glenn Close, when she did Cruella in the Hunchback. Can you imagine Cruella instead of Frollo and Hunchback?
Mean, honestly, she would kill it.
But she said like, this was a dream come true of mine because I grew up on the Walt Disney animated cartoons and they like changed my, and so like she was fangirling out getting to play Cruella. And I think that something happens when you become a professional. It's like you have to hide that fandom part of yourself.
I don't do a good job of that.
Well, because you said, what did you say the other day that I was like, yes.
I said, I'm born to be a fangirl, but forced to be a professional.
Yes.
And
because you were at Comic-Con
yes.
and you did this amazing performance.
Yes, we did a Deadpool and Wolverine performance at Comic-Con, and then ended up they asked us to do a second moment on stage, and so I was like 4 feet away from Robert Downey Jr. when he revealed himself as the new like Marvel villain.
So cool.
I had to keep it together. Like it was my job to be this like Legion of Doom kind of thing. That's a completely different. Anyway, be this like horde of, masked people, and we had to like be there and be very like sinister and serious. And it's freaking Iron Man on stage next to me.
Yes.
Like I had shared words with the president of Marvel Studios during this experience, and like he told me I did a good job, and I'm supposed to be normal about that.
Right. Like
what? Anyway, I was
no,
born to be a fangirl, but I have to be professional, and I am professional. I've always kept my composure. I've never been inappropriate in a professional setting in the sense of like approaching an actor or a writer or a director in an untoward way ever. And I never would, even if I wasn't a professional in the space. It's just not in my nature. But you really thought I was going to like keep it together standing on stage next to Iron Man.
Also, I'm like, when I'm in spaces with people that are not fans, I'm like, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Like in the Disney in concert gigs that I do, we had somebody that was potentially going to be doing the show who was like, I've never seen Frozen or Tangled. Like, I don't know this music.
Oh.
And I was like, then I don't think this is the job for you.
Yeah.
Like that's what I loved about Corbin Bleu at the Hollywood Bowl is the way that he sang that music. He was singing it as a fan, as somebody that has listened to it a million times, and he wasn't like, I'm going to put my own spin on this and do my own thing, or like, I learned this 3 hours ago in my hotel room. He was like, no, I'm going to give the Jack Skellington fantasy, and it had such like childish,
joy.
Shameless, like going through the audience being like, what's this? And like he like sounded like Danny Elfman.
He sounded great.
He knew all of those cadences like the back of his hand. And I feel like why I've always been drawn to you is that we're both massive fans of what we do, but we are professionals and we are part of that multiverse that creates that content. And so that's what makes us proud of the content that we create, is that it's for us, by us, type stuff.
Yeah. And I think that, as fans, Disney in myriad ways, whether it's animated, whether it's Pixar, whether it's, Disney Channel when we were kids,
right.
Marvel now, Star Wars, any of that, it has brought us so much joy in our lives
Mm-hmm.
that now getting to perform in different capacities, it allows us an opportunity to turn around and share that joy with other people.
Right.
So I've been in many, many spaces exactly like you're saying, where, we're hired to do a job and I'm, nerding out or like being a fangirl or really excited about something. And the other people around me are like, what is this again? Like,
Yeah, it's like,
and no disrespect, they're professionals and they were hired to do a job.
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily a requirement or a prerequisite that you be a fan of something in order to be hired to represent that thing.
right.
But do you get, if you're not a fan, do you get as much joy or do you get as much excitement from doing this gig or playing this role? And what does it mean to you? Maybe
Right.
we should ask somebody. Maybe
We
we should have like a
should.
non-fan performer and ask them.
We should.
That'd be fun.
And
Because I really am curious.
Oh,
and not
yeah.
in a judgmental way. I know I get so hype when I get to do stuff. Like when I was on tour and we, would get new music and I found out, what songs I was going to be singing, it was always very exciting.
Right.
Because it's like, wow, I've known this song since I was a kid and now I get to do my version for thousands of people. What a dream come
Right.
true. So if you don't have that emotional connection to it, I wonder what that feels like.
I think it's what like it can make artists like literally be so far up their own asshole that they forget why they're doing anything. Because like especially
Yep.
with several Broadway shows that were adapted from movies that I've seen. When I was there, I was like, did you like the movie?
Mm-hmm.
You changed everything about the movie that everybody that loved it
Yeah.
loved about it.
Yeah.
And now I don't recognize this story.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, and I'm just like, you shouldn't be doing something if you don't like it and you're trying to like fix it.
Yeah.
And like, look, I have like immense amount of respect for Harvey Fierstein, like icon queen, but he was like interviewed about adapting Newsies on Broadway, and he was like, well, I was going to change Crutchy's name. And my niece was like, no, you can't change. I was like, okay, I won't change his name. And I was like,
The voice.
and now I have nodes.
I'm gonna pee my pants.
But I was like, Harvey, of course you can't change Crutchy's name. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I will
Like,
say
no. And like, I'm glad your niece checked you
thank
because
God.
what? No.
Yeah. I do wish that someone would have spoken up and said something when they decided to completely change the Trolls number in Frozen on Broadway.
Oh my.
I really
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
It was great the way it was. I don't know. It's
I
fine. It's
know.
fine.
I know. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Because my biggest gripe with Disney on Broadway that I will never forgive them for was cutting the Santa Fe dance break out of Santa Fe. Like the gung, 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 gung. Like
Yeah.
they didn't even like copy and paste it and move it somewhere else in the show. They just
Snipped it.
and I was like,
done.
but the language of this story is dance. And then you cut the dance
The
solo
dance.
of the leading actor who's
Yeah.
leading the charge and telling his story.
Mhm, mhm.
It's fine. It's fine.
Is it fine?
No, it's not. But they did it at the Hollywood Bowl, I think, right? They I heard that music. They did a little
Yeah.
bit of it before
The
Seize the Day.
Newsies segment in Hollywood Bowl was really, really, really good.
Ugh.
Honestly, that whole show was probably, I mean, I've been to a handful of shows at the Hollywood Bowl now. That was my favorite Disney show I've been to.
That's great.
It was really, really well done. The performers were just like top tier caliber talent.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, it was very apparent for not just Corbin Bleu, but all of them that they were fans of what they were doing. And everybody adds their own spin to something, but you can do that in a way that kind of teases that you know what you're doing and that you
Right.
are familiar with the source material and that you have a respect for it. And they all did an incredible, incredible job with that show.
I love that.
I'm like, bring it back. Give me 80s and 90s Disney night at the Hollywood Bowl
Literally.
every summer.
Literally.
Thank you. It's for us, the childless millennial Disney adults.
It is. It is. It is for us.
We will buy all the tickets. Correct.
Okay.
We have questions from listeners, aka
From the
Connor and
listeners,
Oreo.
AKA Connor.
Oreo's asleep, so I
Oreo's
don't really know
dead-ass
what
asleep.
she's asking or how she typed it with her non-thumbs, but
This is just a lightning round. What are your top 3 Disney movies?
Top 3 Disney movies: Beauty and the Beast, Beauty and the Beast, Beauty and the Beast.
he said one answer. All
no,
of them.
I would say no, not Pixar, right?
Are we doing just Disney
I think
animation?
just Disney.
Oh.
I just say Beauty and the Beast all the way down because it's like it is so solidly in the number 1 spot that I don't even know what number 2. Honestly, Mulan.
Fantastic.
But my childhood favorite Disney movie, so I'll throw it on the list: The Three Caballeros.
Oh, come on. That's a good one.
It was my childhood. I was obsessed. I think it's.
Yeah.
I realized later that is why I think I have a Donald Duck obsession because of the Three Caballeros. So I like collect Three Caballeros stuff. Like
That's
a weirdo.
fantastic.
Yeah, top 3 favorite movies. Disney movies.
Top 3 favorite Disney movies. I'll stick with Disney animation. I won't go Pixar. Beauty and the Beast is definitely in my top 3.
Period.
It's
Correct
incredible.
answer.
Tarzan, specifically because I love the soundtrack. I could listen to the Tarzan soundtrack.
I am
anytime.
new to the Tarzan world after being in Tarzan, the musical
Mhm.
Spectacular.
Spectacular.
And
Period.
why was I sleeping on Tarzan?
I don't know.
The music is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. How much did they pay Phil Collins and how, like, why? Why did he go that hard for
I know,
that movie?
but also, did you
It's
see
so good.
Did you see the TikTok that I just saw recently that I'm obsessed with? That he recorded the Tarzan soundtrack in every language.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, so like when you choose the language for
Uh-huh.
Tarzan, he sings every song in
Go
every language
off.
because he was like, I want those residuals
I mean,
and those royalties.
period.
I'm not letting anybody else.
Nobody else can sing
music.
this. I will learn
So
it.
it's like I was on TikTok. It was like a montage of him singing like Strangers Like Me
Yeah.
and like English,
How
Spanish,
long-
French. Yes, it's insane.
That soundtrack is incredible. So it is in my top 3. And the third one, I'm bringing it a little not childhood movies, okay?
Okay,
Frozen is in my top 3.
I love Frozen too.
Frozen is in my top 3, and I tell people this all the time. I love the movie. I think it's incredible. The music is phenomenal. Kristen Bell can do no wrong. But I also have a little sister, and I had just moved away from home when that movie came out. And so there's like a lot of like family, feelings about that movie for me. So yeah, those are my top 3.
I would say Frozen initiated a new era of the Disney film
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it was at a time when Disney animation felt like whatever
Yeah.
because nobody knew that movie was like it was such a like afterthought. It was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that new movie, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
Favorite theme park?
There's a correct answer to this, and I will kick you out if you say.
No.
Yeah, no, Disneyland. Period.
Okay. Like the Disneyland Resort or Disneyland?
No, just Disneyland. The original, the GOAT. We did it first. We still do it better than everybody else. The end. Period. Done. Thank you.
He's going to kick me off the show. This is our first episode. I do love Disneyland. It is at the top for me. But if I'm spending my money, not my annual pass, but if I'm spending my money, I'm going to Tokyo Disney Sea.
Oh, no, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
That's totally
It's
fair.
the craziest theme park I've ever
That's
seen in
also
my whole life.
arguably the best theme park like ever created.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I actually, if I can't say Disneyland, I would say Epcot. I think
Oh, I love Epcot. Yeah.
I think Epcot is like magic.
Yes.
It's also 2 theme parks,
correct.
but like
because you have like Future World and then you have World Showcase.
yeah, it just is like everything. Like it's just everything that I hate to be like what Walt wanted, but like it's it's the concept of unity of a global unity and coming together and celebration and joy and it's like it's the celebration of the best of humanity.
Yes.
Yeah. With a lot of alcohol.
And so many glasses of champagne from the little champagne bar in France.
Period.
Period.
Marvel versus DC.
Oh, Marvel. Sorry. That was rude.
I know nothing about Marvel.
Marvel versus DC. It's Marvel. Do
I
you know
know
anything
nothing.
about DC?
Batman?
Okay. That's all you need to know.
I've seen a couple Batmans.
Okay.
I've seen Justice League, the Zack Snyder edit.
Oh,
And I've
wow.
seen the second Wonder Woman. I'm not doing good with my DC.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yes.
Have you seen like the Tim Burton Batmans or like
I
the
did.
Chris Nolan Batmans?
Yes. I don't like superhero movies.
Oh, that's fair.
I find them to embody toxic heteronormativity.
Yeah,
Which we could unpack
obviously.
at another time.
Yeah,
But
they're like big, beefy dudes that are more powerful than everybody else.
Which the like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man like really spoke to me when it came out. I think we were like 13, 14.
Yeah.
Like that first one is because he has his spiderness thrust upon.
Correct. Well, and also like arguably Spider-Man, which is Marvel, not DC, by the way. That's okay. Spider-Man, especially Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but for the most part, Spider-Man as we know him doesn't play into as many of like the toxically masculine heteronormative like stereotypes.
Yeah, because he's like a boy.
He's a little different, he's a little different. So I think that's totally fair. But yeah, my answer is 150% Marvel, especially when it comes to film. The Marvel Cinematic Universe just completely blows the DC universe out of the water any day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna play a game called Live Action or Original Animated.
No.
You guys have to answer at the same time.
It's all gonna be animated.
Probably.
Cinderella.
Live action.
Yeah.
It's the only one that's good.
Well, I'm just like, I don't know the last time I saw the animated Cinderella.
I just watched it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Live action.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast.
Animated.
Lion King.
Animated.
Little Mermaid.
Oh.
I mean, that's not fair. Animated, I get animated.
I'm gonna say live action.
Okay.
I am. Without getting too in the weeds about it, I feel like they are two separate movies.
I do too.
And I think
I
they
do
should
too.
be.
Yes.
I really love the live action version.
Dumbo.
Never seen it. Never seen the live action.
Me either. I've never seen live action. See, I'm not a Disney adult.
Winnie the Pooh.
Never seen there's
There's
live
a
action.
The horror movie?
There's a live action Winnie the Pooh.
You're talking about the Christopher Robin movie?
Oh, which I've heard is really good.
I have not seen that.
I've heard it's good.
Nor have I seen the horror movie because I have nightmares enough as it is. I don't need Winnie the Pooh in them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, there's one you missed that I will say live action.
What?
It's not part of the era,
Okay.
but the greatest Disney animated to live action film, 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, yes.
Because if it was made now, the dogs would talk.
Yeah.
They would CGI their mouth, but they tell that story, and the dogs are dogs. They're just so well trained, and the acting of Pongo and
so
like
good.
It's so good, and Glenn Close is so good.
She's so good. We always turn on Disney movies when we go to bed, and we just like put on a timer and let them play. 101 Dalmatians, live action or animated, is the one movie we cannot put on because our dog.
Hilarious.
She loves it. She actually watches movies. Like she legitimately watched all of the Harry Potter movies. Like love them. But she will stay awake and like when they like bark on screen, she will like talk back to them.
That's
so
adorable.
We can't. That's the only one like out of the entire Disney catalog that we can't watch when we go to sleep.
Sweet. I love it.
Okay.
I know both of you have various fandoms that you belong to. What would you say your favorite Broadway show is?
I don't know what the word favorite means. I struggle with this. What is your favorite when you're like a fan and a professional? Because I'm like, what do you mean my favorite? Like there's like the one I think is the most important, and there's like the one I think was the best or the most
so
like you know what I mean? Like favorite
this.
is so like
not as a performer, as an audience member. What is the Broadway show that you have enjoyed the most?
The Color Purple revival.
Okay.
Yeah. See that
Yeah.
like as an audience, like I see, but then on the flip side, the Scottsboro Boys was one of the most like intense theatrical experiences I ever had. I don't know if I enjoyed sobbing for
Right.
15 minutes
Yeah.
and sitting in the theater, like not being able to function. But The Color Purple, I also saw The Color Purple on opening night.
Oh my gosh.
it was
just
like-
brag a little, why don't
like
you?
it was like ridiculous,
Yeah.
and I was like screaming, and literally
course.
this woman behind me, she was like tap tap, and she's like, I was an investor on the show, and I was like nervous about my investment, and after watching you watch the show, it like made me like know I made the right choice.
That's incredible.
Investing in the show, and I was like, how much more money do you have?
Do you want to invest
Yeah.
in my project?
Literally, no, yeah, Color Purple, Scottsboro Boys. What about you?
Don't laugh at me. As an audience member, the show I have enjoyed the most, you're already laughing,
I'm terrified.
is Book of Mormon.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like,
I've
if you
seen
say
it-
like Dear Evan Hansen,
No.
we're gonna have a problem.
I have probably seen Book of Mormon more than any other Broadway show I've ever
What?
seen.
Did you see me?
I don't know. I would need to go back and look because
Wait, when you came to New York, did you see me in it at that time?
I think the last time I saw Book of Mormon in New York was
I think I went through this with
2018 or
Zach.
2019.
Oh well, then
I probably saw you.
yes.
I would just
Unless
have to
I
go
was
back
out
and like look
sick.
at the dates.
Oh, that's
You
I mean,
were-
it's so
yeah.
good.
It's for a lot of reasons I love that show. I know that the content of the show is very controversial and I understand deeply why it is so. The way the musical is written to me is perfect.
Yes.
Like the music itself, the lyrics, how like the way the motifs tie together, the way the story is told. If you can suspend the judgment of the content for a moment, to me it is a perfectly written musical.
Yeah. No, it's
actually
it's amazing.
fantastic.
It's amazing. I thought it was pretty revolutionary in the way that it told the story
Mhm.
because the whole point of storytelling is you have your lead character that like goes on the hero's journey
Yeah.
and like transforms, but I've always felt that Elder Cunningham should have the last bow
Mhm.
of Book of Mormon
I agree.
because Elder Price is the lead, right?
Mhm.
So he's the one that goes on the transformative
Mhm.
journey. But what's brilliant about it is that Elder Cunningham doesn't.
Doesn't.
He stays the same, and everybody else
Mhm.
changes around him
Mhm.
to fit
He's the constant.
with him. Yeah, and I think that is like so genius.
Yeah.
And I also will say like I mean we can have a whole podcast about Book of Mormon.
We sure can.
But
That's the episode. Write it down.
I think that the controversy of the content, it now just speaks to how different the world was when it came out in
Yeah,
2011.
Absolutely.
Because
It was completely different back then, and I do think that, and that's why I still say that it's my favorite show, even knowing the controversy and that there are certain moments in the show that are not inappropriate in the year
Right.
of our Lord 2024.
Right.
But because of the way it was written, I think we can still use it as an allegory of like what is and is not right and what we should
Yeah.
and shouldn't
Right.
do. And it's still a relevant commentary, I
Right.
think.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
comedy should not be timeless.
Right.
Comedy
It's
is
it's by nature of its
yes,
time.
comedy is an intellectual acknowledgement of culture.
Yes.
And where it's at, and so that changes.
Yeah.
But
it's a good thing that it's changed.
Yes,
It's a good
yes.
thing that 13 years later we're not in that space anymore
yeah.
as a society. We're pushing towards progress, right?
Right.
It's a good thing.
Because when I saw the
Um,
show, like I thought Turn It Off was like the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Like I was like crying laughing.
Yeah.
But then as I was doing the show, like in 2019, I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know if this is like funny to me anymore.
Mhm.
And I think it was just
Your
because of
feeling about the rhetoric changes.
yeah, I was just like, this is just like with the way the world is and
Mhm.
like the way that certain things are like under attack. I mean, like, and a lot of the original cast like will say this, like, it was just when that show came out, Obama was president.
Yeah.
It's very it was very different to do that show when Obama was president and then when Trump was president.
Absolutely.
Because at least at that time it was like, we have a black man in the White House. Like you could feel and see progress, and then you couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. To use
But-
a church word, we backslid.
Oh. Ew.
Whoops.
We did it.
We did it.
We did our first episode.
We did our first episode, and hopefully now you all know what to expect from our show.
That's right.
Yeah, that's kind of, just to give you guys an idea of what we're going to be doing with this show. That's kind of the lens through which we view pop culture and the fandoms and things that we talk about. Is
Right.
we are fans of them, but we are also working professionals within these brands and the intellectual properties that we're going to be talking about, and that definitely it colors our experience working for them for
Right.
sure.
And I think that there's a difference between being a fan or having fan content. Then it sometimes feels like you can't say anything negative.
Mhm.
But also it's not about being negative. It's
No.
about having a clear analysis
Yes.
of something or an
I
observation.
am
This
a
is not
firm-
Swiftie culture.
No.
There may be some critiques.
And I am okay with that. And that's why, as a Taylor Swift fan, the Swifties don't claim me.
Oh.
Because I am a firm believer that we are allowed and should be critical of the things that we love. Period. Criticism isn't always inherently bad. So,
Right. Right. And you know what? Honestly, coming up next, I think that we're going to have a lot to talk about after D23, the biggest Disney fan
Yes.
news event of the year.
Yes.
And I think that we'll have a lot of we're not haters, but we have
But we have opinions. I think that's kind of going to be a refrain. Like, we're
Yeah.
not haters, but we have opinions.
Yeah, no, because hatred is not the opposite of love. It is the
Correct.
crisis of love. And
It
we
is.
love Disney.
The opposite of love is apathy. And we are
Ooh.
anything but apathetic.
Whenever you say a word, it just like takes my like, I feel it in my gut. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening to our first podcast, and stay tuned to hear more about all of the things that I'm assuming you love just as much as we do.
Yes, we hope so. Follow us on the other social media platforms. Obviously, we have the Instagram, we have the TikTok. We might be millennials, but we do know how to make a short form video.
All of those are Bepes, so the content will eventually, the grid will be full soon.
Yes,
but,
yes, this is all new. But if you want to support us there, we will put the links to those in the description of this episode.
Venmo. No,
Yes, I'm putting my Cash App as well. We are looking for sponsors. Okay, we'll talk to you next time.
bye.
Bye.